thank you so much for checking out another episode of Brand Builder TV. At the end of the day, what we want to share with you are real world golden nuggets with people that have been there, done it, and are currently doing it. And like I always say, I want to share with you how to brand and market in 2020 versus 2004. There's so many people out there that are branding and marketing in 2004, and they're trying to figure out why they can't get that momentum going. And eventually they're going to disappear because the evolution train is leaving with or without you. The question is, are you getting on or is it running you over? So that being said, I'm very, very excited to introduce our next guest, Stacy Ellen, who's a transformational coach, a mentor, a speaker, and changing the world in her flavor. So Stacy, give us a little 30,000 foot view, right? Where you came from, where you're at today, and where you see yourself going, and we're going to chunk that down.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's an honor to be here. I appreciate it. Let's see. I was born and raised Midwest. I grew up divorced parents who couldn't agree on a darn thing. So I went to 6 elementary schools, 2 high schools. And really my whole life, my process has been one of that started, and this is where I believe lots of our stuff starts at a young age, where I just wanted to fit in and be liked and appreciated in different schools. And then went into college and same thing, I became the party girl to then fit in and was headed down a pretty rough path. My story goes, most people, if I've spoken to you in a session before or as a speaking engagement, I often share about my car accident that completely transformed my life September 20th, 1999, when I was about to graduate college. And so from there was where I took a deeper dive into personal growth. Who am I? Why am I here? And because I lived for years with a very uneven face and smile. And so I went through a windshield and back, and I had to learn how to love myself from within, because for years I didn't like what I looked like on the outside. And so that was a big part of my transformation along the way. And like I said, diving deep into that personal growth space. However, sometimes old patterns die hard, right? So in order to then, I got back up, and was realigned, moved in a different direction, because that's what I believe often tragedy and pain and things that happen to us are more so happening for us. And that's exactly what ended up happening. I transformed my life. I went back, got straight A's for the first time in college, moved out of that city, moved from those people, and started working my way up a corporate ladder now in Chicago, because I thought that's what it meant to be successful. And so, so there it was where I have got the business knowledge, small business, medium business, Fortune 500 companies. I, was in the space of just sales and marketing, and thought that, as I grew there, that would then bring me to this place of success, right? Whatever success meant at that time. But internally, I was frustrated, overwhelmed, sad, and just knew I was working 70-hour weeks. I didn't get out much, and I didn't really like everything I was selling. So I knew that something needed to change. And at this point, again, sometimes when we know, right, something isn't for our highest good, what happens? That universe, God steps in and we'll change our direction once again. And that's what happened. I got let go from my big Fortune 500 company. And that's when I made it here to San Diego. And again, another deep dive into, my own healing, really getting to the core of who I am. So then I could be able to step out and really start to transform my life, because I wasn't happy in any area of my life at that point, and just knew I needed to do something where I'm helping people, and then, fast forward to now, it was like, so all of my business experience and then all this personal growth through the years. And now I'm happy to say that I get to work with people around the world and really helping them transform from within first, because everything starts here. And then we start to create. And as you do that, even as we're doing that, their business starts to double in income, and the ease comes in, and we're not in hustle mode anymore. Like, things just start to unfold more easily when you do your own inner work, the inner healing. And then, but I also bring in the strategy and such, because I have that whole backbone in sales. So.
Wow. I love it. We have so much in common. I had a motorcycle accident that changed my life years ago, about 18 years ago. Yeah. So that's really interesting. I went through a divorce. Yeah. And the divorce, before we went through the divorce, we were married and together 17 years. Before that, we went through counseling, who introduced me to personal development, right? Yeah. Way back when. So yeah, it's interesting how that works. If you're willing to see it, right? If you're willing to grow into that person, to create that level of awareness. And one of the things that I want to share with people when it comes to the personal development and spiritual world that we both have been a part of in our lives is contrast, right? Mm-hmm. Contrast is so powerful, right? Yeah. We're going through these struggles, but it's really the contrast that gives us the clarity. Yes. If we're willing to look at it that way. One of my statements or quotes or whatever you want to call it is, how you perceive is how you receive. Mm-hmm. How you perceive is how you receive. And I'm such a fan of the contrast because it allows me to create even more clarity if I'm willing. So we have so much in common. Came from Jersey to San Diego. You came from the Midwest to San Diego. We both miss the food. There's no question about that. Right? I love it. And I want to be able to, you're a perfect guest for this show because I love to be able to tie in personal development and the real practical steps come from the real world wisdom, which I believe is keep the theory, right? That gets in the way. I want the real stuff that's been there and done it. So we both have a very similar background. It's very interesting how we connect. We did connect on LinkedIn. So I'm very, very excited to have you here. Let me ask you this, and let's go a little bit deeper.
Sure.
I'm a firm believer that if any program that's out there that doesn't have personal development in it is actually not complete, because I believe that personal development is life 101. Mm-hmm. Even to the point of every talk that I do, I give away as a man thinketh, as a gift, because I believe it's just life 101. I'd love for you to expand on that, and then we'll get into the real practical branding and marketing in 2020.
Sure. I mean, I agree as far as obviously personal growth is integrated into everything that I do. I always say that, when you wake up in the morning, you're not one person, and then you go to work and you put on a hat or you put on your clothes and you're somebody else, right? Like, that's why we have to do the inner work in tandem as we do the business. Even that famous Jim Rohn says, you can work really hard and make a living, or you can work harder on yourself and make a fortune. Mm. So it's always important, I believe, that they go hand in hand. And I know in my mastermind, in my programs, and in my talks, like I am going back and forth between them, because I feel like oftentimes that at least the people that come to me, the clients, are, they've been through a lot of these programs, and they've tried all these metrics, and they've tried making the membership site, making all these things work, and they're not working. Something's missing. And most of the time I find, and guess what? I went through this too. So even within myself, I had to find what, really get real with myself on what is congruent, aligned to who I am in order to market in that way. And same thing, with the clients that come to me, it's like we must connect to who we are and market from that space. And
I love it. Getting back to what we kind of touched on before we actually started recording this, is your vulnerability becomes your credibility, right? And in order to get there, in order to have that courage to be vulnerable, you have to be able to work on yourself to get to that point, right? That self-image has to have, you've got to be able to create that bulletproof self-image, so now you can show up real, raw, and live every day. Which is going to separate you from the masses so you can rise above the noise in your industry. I love that. Let's talk about vulnerability.
Yeah.
How important is that, do you feel, in branding both personal and professional brands?
I feel that it's everything.
That's a girl. That's it.
Because the only thing that you have different than somebody else is your own stories,
Yes.
And your own experience. You can learn how to do things anywhere. We have this thing called Google. I mean, you can look up anything, right? And so what brings your authenticity to the plate is the vulnerability piece.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what people tie into also, like, because we hear often the know, like, and trust factor, right? Like, in order for people to buy, you got to know, like, and yes. And I always say this, like, what if that went deeper? What if you actually connected with somebody from this vulnerable place? I mean, we don't have to share, like, what happened in 5th grade, and all that, but, like, understand who this person is first. Understand what they, maybe what they enjoy, what they've been through, like get an idea of the person you're connecting with. And so you can then share vulnerably that perhaps you've been through the same thing. Because somebody that understands you and gets you is going to connect you so much. They're going to feel safe around you. And we all, as human beings, we all want to feel safe first. Before even the know, like, and trust factor, we need to feel safe that we can share with this person that we're connecting with. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, and so if you can create that safety even first, much easier to attract new clients too that way. And
I 100%, I'm such a fan of brand loyalty as king, right? Because it maps the trust. And trust is everything in your brand, right? That's why the big companies that have entertainers and sports stars that sometimes go sideways on them, now they take all that branding and marketing budget and they move it over to PR, right? Because they want to keep our trust. They want to keep that relationship.
Totally.
I want to, and I love for you to share, and we'll go deeper on how important your personal brand is in today's world versus 2004, right? Coming into 2020. Share with your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel no matter who you are, your personal brand is like, it's you. It's the foundational pieces of who you are. And it's what people are going to pick up on, not just what you say, but the energy that you bring. And your personal brand is not only like, your website and the things you put out there on social media. It's that there's this whole energetic space that many people don't even understand. And that's where I like to play often, because that energetic space is where people are either like being pulled to you, it becomes magnetic, or they're not. And it's okay either way. But the more that you're fully aligned, mind, body, soul, into who you are, and you're actually coming from that aligned space of, this is who I am, like, these are my belief systems, and you're, and then connecting with somebody on a very vulnerable level, you're going to be able to, create that brand of, the likability and the trust and all of that. And the integrity is a huge piece in that too, right? And I see it all the time where, somebody says yes, and then they don't show up, or they don't make the call, or they don't, or they bow out of something. And I've had it a lot lately because I'm planning an event. So it's interesting to see, like the people that flow in and out, because all of that's energy.
Yep.
And if they're doing that, not like to me, but if they're doing that in my space when I welcome them into my space, then it's probably something they're doing in other areas of their life. It's probably something that's continuously happening for them, and it might be hindering them in their own brand because we're not committing to the thing that you say you're going to commit to. Does that make sense?
And let's also go deeper on another direction on that. Is when you hold your space, when you are in alignment with who you truly are, then you let the universe do all the heavy lifting. So now, right, you're wanting to bring them into that space, but the universe is like, doesn't connect, right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't connect. So I love to tell people that let the universe do all the heavy lifting.
Yes.
Your focus is staying in alignment. And Dr. Joe Dispenza uses an awesome word. And when you are in alignment, you become affluent. So that means the people and the circumstances start to come into your life. You literally attract it, like they say,
Yes.
law of attraction, right?
Yeah, of
You
attraction.
attract it like a magnet instead of going out trying to chase it and
Yes.
find it. It's so it's so interesting when you can stay in that alignment, how that's so how that happens. It's literally magical.
Because everything's energy.
Yes,
So energy's
yes,
always flowing.
yes,
It just transforms, right? It
yes,
never dies. It just transforms. So
yes.
however we're flowing, we're either attracting things to us or repelling them away from us all the time.
Love,
And
love it.
so, yeah.
Let's talk about some practical things now, right? On the branding and the marketing end in 2020, especially in the spaces that we're in, right? When it comes to coaching and mentoring and speaking and being an author and everything else. Like I it's mentioned earlier, that life makes the rules, right? And life says we're evolving with or without you.
Yes.
The question is, are you coming along with us, or are we going to leave you behind?
Yes.
And in today's world, if they have to understand that if you have any social media platform, any website, anything to do with being on the online world, anything to do with it, you are a global brand, whether you like it or not, right? So now, how do you leverage that in today's world? I'd love to hear some thoughts from you on that.
Personally,
Yeah,
I'm,
personally and professionally, right? I
yeah,
believe that
well,
they
they
go
go,
hand in hand today.
yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. So
yeah, yeah.
personally, for me,
Hmm.
I am a public speaker and I love speaking. And so I mean, there's not, besides working with clients, like that brings me joy, right? Transforming lives and teaching and inspiring and all of the above. Like I get to share my energy and, one person, if I'm inspiring one person, I'm doing my job there. And so what you're asking is, for me, I had to find though the thing that lit me up the most when it comes to branding and marketing. And that's what it was, because most of my clients come from speaking. So like for everyone, it's different. And we get to, you get to play with that a little bit with all the different types of social media and things today. And I don't believe, I mean, yes, certain times we need to have a presence in certain areas in order to get to something specific. Like, I don't know, if you're working in corporate, they do want to see certain things on different platforms.
Yeah, yeah.
Here, however, it's like something that you don't have to be. We don't need to do it all, I guess, is the other thing. Like there's certain places where your clients live and play. And so understanding what those are, there's certain places that feel good to you personally, right? And then you get to play in those places. So you find where that intersects with your clients. Like where do I enjoy and where are my clients? And then that's where you put more of your energy.
Love it. I love it. And speaking on the practical end, exactly what we're doing here, right, is the podcast virtual. Just
Yes.
this medium right now is such a game changer in the last 5 years, and it's only getting bigger.
Yeah.
I tell all my clients, and when I speak from stage, if you're not getting on 2 to 3 podcasts that have your audience a week, you're not doing, you're missing something, right? Because there's so many things that you could do with a podcast. You can repurpose them in so many ways. You're going to get in front of that ideal audience, right? But now, how do you maximize that? And I'm a big believer in creating that signature story or stories, right? That's going to relate and allow you to be able to sell without selling. And I
Yes.
think that's the power, right, of what we do, is when you can start to master this and create this as a daily routine, you can literally sell without selling and be in integrity. And that's the energy. That's the mojo, right? That's what we're all striving for, whether we realize it or not. Any other things that you could think of in today's world and where you see us going that people can leverage both their personal and their business brand?
I mean, there's something that I've had to practice and that I just see is really important today, and it's copywriting. And there's some copywriters out there, but especially if you're going to go the online route, like there's definitely copy that sells, right?
Yeah.
And the same respect there, I've used other people's templates and such at times over the last few years, and they didn't work. You know why? Because my voice wasn't in it.
Yes.
So it's so important, if you do learn to master copy or hire a copywriter, one of the two, because copywriting isn't going away. And it really is, it either pulls people in right away, no matter what media, no matter what social media space you're in, or, you're not seeing it, right? Because it's not standing out.
That's an awesome point. It literally, like a good speaker, right? It becomes magical.
Yes.
And I want to go deeper too on what you said, because this is so important for businesses, small, medium business owners, new business owners, and even commission salespeople, because they do have a business within a business. That's what they have to understand. Is one of the things you touched on, and I want to go deeper because it's such a gold nugget, is identifying your weaknesses so you can enhance those with people and processes, right? So you can run with your strengths. And when I shared that I built and sold 3 companies in 3 different industries, but I crashed one to the ground, people always want to know about the one I crashed to the ground. And that's what happened. I thought I had my weaknesses covered, and I didn't, right? And I was running with my strengths, and that all unraveled in the back. So I love that you went there, because I believe that's business 101. Enhance your weaknesses so you can triple down on your strengths.
Yes. So important.
Isn't it?
And it's so easy to get in, work in the business versus on. And that's where most entrepreneurs fail, right? Like we must learn to let go of those things that we're not good at. Cause I can tell you what, video editing, I mean, it could take me like hours to do something that a video editor could do, in 30 minutes.
Right.
So
and then
I'm not going to do that.
Right. And then here's where small business owners and even medium-sized business owners and commission salespeople don't look at, what do you consider value? What do you consider investment? And those 4 hours that you've been trying to edit that you hate, you can be doing something else to build your company while you're outsourcing that. And now if there's ever a time in our world to be able to outsource, it is now. Isn't it? It's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that.
And that comes with letting go of control, right? For the business owner, and being open to teaching and training. So that brings up other skills within themselves. It's interesting because I just have my clients that, she knows she needs an assistant to help her with her dog walking business. However, she's been a little reluctant to do it, and then we had to go deeper with that. Why are you not writing out this job description? Why are you sending it to me? And it was, I'm a little nervous. She's not going to, do it the way I want her to do it. Right. So then we got to look at, the perfectionists that we all have some of that within us was coming forth, and we got to go into deeper of where that landed within her, and how do we move through that, and how do we then trust that we're going to be guided. And, when we put it out there, we're very clear with it, right? And we're certain that this is what we want. We command it in a way that, we're taking that inspired action forward, but then surrendering and being open to how it shows up, it will show up.
Yes. It's so many points that you just made there. And I love that you used inspired action, because I'm such a fan of that, because we're inundated with and thrown up on hustle and grind, and grind. But the inspired action is the one that the flame never burns out, right? The hustle and the grind, that's only temporary. Eventually it's going to burn out. That candle is going to burn out, but that inspired action comes from the inside. And I love that. I love that you even said it. We have so much more in common than you can even imagine. It's absolutely amazing. But I
Yeah.
love inspired action because that's the golden egg. When you
Yes.
can find that, you are gonna win.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes, when you know that there's deadlines and such, it's still, because anytime that I know that I have things to do, right, and things that I want to accomplish, I'm still checking in with myself. Does it feel good to do this right now, or does it feel better to do this? Because I know I need to get both done. So is my head really clear and I know I can write this right now, or do I make call, so I'm always checking in, what feels good in the moment. And, sometimes there's things we don't want to do. Not saying that we're always only going to do things we want to do as a business owner, right? We know there's certain things that we learn how to do and master as we grow as well. So yeah, but I just believe that inspired action is very different than just taking action. Like, it's truly tuning into you and first before, and that's tuning into your own emotions and thought patterns and not even just thoughts, more into the body, more into the feeling and the emotions, because that's really the clarity. That's the clarity space, right? Our soul will help us become clear. The head is just a bunch of regurgitated patterns and programming that we have. So to really get the clarity, we must tune in.
Yes,
and then
it's building that level of awareness, right?
Yes.
And understanding. And I love that you went to the place of checking in with yourself and saying, I have this to do and this to do. What feels better in the moment? Let's do that for now. And then one of the things that if you're for some reason you can't find that person, or you don't have the resources to get that done that you really don't want to do, then what you do is remove yourself, right? Get yourself in a better space, and then use that, how I perceive is how I receive, and move forward with that. But honestly, in today's world, there's almost no reason why you can't outsource whatever it is you want in a very economical way. If you're willing to, to put that entrepreneurial hat on and round up your horses and figure out all your resources, because at the end of the day, that's the only difference, right, between us and somebody that's working 9 to 5, is we know how to look for and enhance our resources. That's really, and on a practical world, that's really what an entrepreneur, we are firemen. We're putting out fires every day, right? And we're figuring it out as we go. And that's what it's interesting. That's what makes us, that's what creates our oxygen, right? On one end, because it keeps it, we're not bored. And that's part of our DNA. And we get to a point when when we do that every day, we don't know any other way. This is just part of our world, is finding those resources and making sure that that things get done. So I love that you went there. You hit so many different golden nuggets. I want to make sure we went deeper on. And is there anything that I didn't talk about, I didn't bring up, that you want to touch on?
As far as along this topic line?
Yeah.
No, I think that what you were just saying was, yes, about the resources piece. And sometimes, though, as an entrepreneur, you're stepping in and you don't know exactly if you're going to be good at something or not, right? And so it's all about understanding the contrast as well, right? The contrast that, oh gosh, this is not my thing. Right. And being willing to give that, space or time, or give it up to somebody else, right? The whole contrast piece, I think, is big along those lines. There was something that came up for me when you were talking about the letting go of.
Yeah. So one of the things that just came to me when you were talking is part of the personal development, and that I teach in my 90-day brand builder bootcamp, is we're either in the personal development where we're either in one state or the other, right? We're either in surviving state or we're in thriving state. And I think what happens is that's when you can understand that, and you can understand the definitions and the differences, now that helps to stop that unwanted momentum, right? Or at least slow it down and then create that clarity is, okay, I'm in surviving state. How do I now slow this down and start to move into thriving state? Because we're only in one or two and we can't be in both at the same time.
Yeah, so I often say that that's called resistance,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and resistance rears its head in all these different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, the resistance is the fear,
Mm-hmm.
right? And fear can be the comparison, the jealousy, the overwhelm, the procrastination, even, and any of that can lend itself back to the fear. So yeah, so I always say like the past, like we're always in the past or the future, right? And then when you get back to the present moment, and let's just say you get stuck, right? The stuckness is even a form of resistance.
Yes.
And and indecision is a form of resistance. So when we can acknowledge when we're in this stuckness, when we're in this resist any form of those resistance phases, right? And normally, like you said, it's when you don't have the clarity, right? And you'll know when you're in it because you're not clear. Mm-hmm. And part of being an entrepreneur and becoming successful is really learning, how to move through it quickly.
Yes.
Because guess what? You're not going to always make the right decision. However, you got to make a decision and you got to jump forward. As long as you're feeling inspired, you jump forward, and you know what? You might fall on your face, and that's okay, because that's part of your learning and your growth, and you're going to shake yourself off and get back up and move in a different direction. So that was a big lesson I know personally for myself, and I do a lot of work with clients around that, is the whole like, wow, we get in this, I don't know if I want to do it this way or I want to do it this way. And then you just end up, you either don't do anything or, you just become stagnant in that. So, learning how to really just move forward no matter what, right? Letting go of the perfectionist tendencies or anything that makes you doubt yourself in that momentum space, and just start to ride the momentum, right? Ride the momentum no matter what it looks like, because it will lead you. That momentum will lead you. And
I love that. And one of the things that I want to go deeper on that, using some of your stories with your clients, is that's ultimately why successful people bring on mentors and coaches, is that outside perspective, right? And being able to pull you through what I call those fear barriers, right? As you start to freeze up, that coach, that mentor, that person now is going to pull you through those fear barriers and give you a outside perspective, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times a much more accurate perspective. And here's what I mean by that. I wrote an ebook back in 2012. It was called The Monster Under the Bed.
Ooh.
So you're 10 years old. You're in your room. The lights are out. It's pitch dark. You're under the covers, and you hear this sound, right? And you know for sure it's a big green hairy monster ready to come out and eat you. Now, we've all been there, right? I mean, I was just there last week, so I know we've all been there. Until an adult comes in, turns on the lights, you look under the bed, and what is it? There's no monster. And it's the exact same thing that happens when we become adults. We create this big green hairy monster, but either we need to or we need somebody to help us turn those lights on. So we can look under that bed and know it's okay. So I love that. I love that. I love the energy.
That's a good story. That's a good story. I like that too.
Well, you know why? Because everyone can relate, right?
Totally.
We've all been there, and we're going to constantly be there. That's just part of this whole fun journey.
Yes.
Right?
You learn to embrace it.
Yes.
Know that that's just the mind muck going on. It's not real, right? It's your perception of what's happening versus what's really happening, right? We're just perceiving things, and that's how we create the world. So
right. And I love that. Instead of having that fear freeze you, turn that fear into curiosity.
Yes.
Right? And then start to move forward. I wrote my book in 2016. It's called Fearless is Bullshit. Right? And we're conditioned to think and believe.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Well, we're conditioned to believe that when we feel fear, we must be broke. But what I realized when I got older, looking back, fear is a real feeling like love and anger, right? It's either going to be your heaviest anchor or your strongest propeller. You have to decide that. But fear actually is that contrast, and it can be absolutely be your strongest propeller. So love that. I love that. I have a whole keynote on the Tommy story on fear, breaking through fear barriers. It's called Knockout Fear in the First Round. So a lot of fun. Anything that you want to touch on, because I want to share with everyone before we do wrap this up, how they can reach you and how they can get a hold of you on your social media, your website, and everything else. So is there anything that you want to just end this with?
Oh, I know that I'm on this planet to be the guide for people just to step into their ultimate potential, really connect back to who they are at their core, and then create from that place. And so it is possible for you to heal, for you to, really create any of these dreams that you've had, no matter if you're 10 or 50, it doesn't matter. Like there's always time and space if you allow yourself to go there and move through anything that might be holding you back in order to really just shine your light brighter in the world, because that's what the world needs. The more we all take on that inner work and do that inner work, that ripples out and that helps heal the planet. Yeah. And so, amen. I mean, I firmly believe that it's time for, if you're not stepping into this personal growth and you're a business person, then it is behind the time. It is time. Yes. It is. Because that's what's going to take you to a whole nother dimension, a whole nother level of you. And that's where you get to see all the beauty unfold and be in the space to help others, more people around the world, make your impact. Yeah. It's
so true. And that's why we're here. Grow, expand, and move forward. I love it. So share with us, and we're going to also put it in the notes section. Share with us where we can reach you, where we can find you.
Sure. So my website is stacyellen.com, STACEYELLEN.com. Okay. I also am the founder of Awaken the Leader Within live. So if we get this out before then, I do have an upcoming 3-day transformative self-mastery and leadership event.
Okay.
And that is events.stacyellen.com. So you just add events to the front of that. And I'm gifting scholarship free tickets right now. So if we do, get to that place and this comes out before, then I would love to gift that to your audience.
Well, let's do this, because you will get the unedited version. So if you can, if you want to chop this up, attach us on it, this will eventually come out. But yeah, if you want to do that, feel free.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
And please, Facebook.
Yes.
I have it's called Abundant Leaders Circle. So if you type that in the search bar, I have an interactive group there, and I would love to invite any business owner, entrepreneurs, go-getters, visionaries into that group that are open, wanting to really take themselves, their business, their life to the next level and do it in a way that feels really good.
Awesome. And definitely LinkedIn. That's how we connected.
LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn. That's it. That's absolutely 100%. That's it. 100%. So we will get you this unedited version so you can chop this up and make sure that you attach us on it. And then we're also, once we do release these clips, we'll put all your links in. I believe we have them. If not, we'll get them from you. But I want to first of all say I'm so glad we connected. We're in each other's backyard. We have so much in common. It's pretty wild. And anything that I can do to help, don't always reach out. Feel free to reach out. And thank you so much for taking the time. And as always, we end this show with brand loyalty is king, simply because it maps back to trust. And trust is the long game. Make no mistake. Trust is the long game. So guys, thanks so much for watching this episode. When you get value, not if you get value, when you get those golden nuggets, please share this episode, share this show out there. We want to get it out there to the masses, because at the end of the day, theory gets in the way. We move that aside. We want the real world wisdom from the real world people. So thank you guys for stopping by, and we do it one way around here, Monster Motivator style, baby.